Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Welcome to the penultimate episode of the Meet the Mancunian podcast, Season 3. I'm Deepa Thomas Sutcliffe, host of the Meet the Mancunian podcast, which introduces listeners to inspirational Mancunians making a difference in the local community. Whether they run a charity or a social enterprise, volunteer or coach others, host a community or go it alone, all my guests have fascinating stories to tell. Sit back, relax, and listen in to Season 3 of the Meet the Mancunian. Tune into your favorite podcasting platform every Tuesday. Looking to help aspiring artists and musicians? We hear from Simon Naylor, Artistic Director 532 in this episode. I'm delighted to introduce my guest, Simon Naylor, Artistic Director of 532. Thank you so much, Simon, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody.
It's bright and sunny here, and hopefully where you are as well. So it's a nice Sunday morning. But tell us about your passion for helping underserved and underrepresented creatives. So let's start there with that journey, and then we could talk about 532.
Yeah, of course. I guess it's a bit of a long, winding journey. I trained as an actor and then sort of found a love of directing as well. And from there, set up a theatre company, which then miraculously we found a building to set up a theatre in, just a temporary pop-up space for a few years. And it was in there that just because of the layout of the building, it was all on one level. And because of that, it was sort of an accidental brilliance that we realized that it was therefore accessible for wheelchairs and disabled visitors. And because of that, we then started meeting people like Dank and Triple C, who I'm sure we'll talk about a bit more later, who helped us grow even further. And it became quite clear that there was quite a gap in the market for sort of middle tier independent theatres that were accessible in every sense of the word. Both for those people wanting to be on stage and those people wanting to come and watch performances and take part in a sort of participant role. So it came about quite accidentally, but now it's definitely one of our core values that we try and spread throughout all of our practices.
Thank you for sharing that. And that sounds like such a amazing thing that you're doing, because making theatre accessible both for participants and for people who'd like to showcase their talent in different ways is a really good initiative. Thank you for sharing that with us. And that brings us to 532. Can you tell us about what 532 does and how you got involved?
Yeah, so 532 was born from finding the venue, really. Before 532, we were Manchester Actors Platform, which was providing professional but affordable services for creatives, be it headshots, showreels, classes. We tried to do a little bit of everything because we're all actors. The team are all actors. We knew how important it was for that. Again, accessibility to those services. 532 came about because there is a venue, the old Bower Garage, which if you're in Manchester, you'll probably know, beneath the arches that used to take trains up to Manchester Central. That is now being developed. But before that, they wanted someone in it just on a temporary basis. And via a strange series of connections with different people, I and the team, we eventually pitched to take over that space. And that was when 53.2 was born as a venue. It was shortly after that we realized that would be more beneficial to become a charity. So 53.2 then became a charity with a trading subsidiary underneath, which sort of still operate the theatre. My role in it, I mean, I don't know. I guess founder, member, director. Can you have a director of a charity? And sort of creative director for both the charity and the theatre as well. Really, the ideas that we push through the charity and the people we want to help and the platforms we give, which are all charitable, come through myself and our team. So it's a wonderful gift to be able to have, and hopefully a few people in Manchester and beyond have benefited from it.
I went to the venue and it is lovely. It's definitely very, very, I found it very accessible as well. And
Right.
of course, you have your own welcome dog, which is always
Absolutely.
nice.
Albion quickly becoming the most famous dog in Manchester.
I'm pretty sure he probably needs his whole own handle. But that was really nice. And then each of the toilets as well, I noticed that they were individual. That was really nice. And then I also noticed you had these little hooks on the wall and many different things to make it very, very convenient.
Yeah, it's the little touches. The toilets strangely get quite a lot of attention. We in the old venue again, we learned via mistakes really. We were 150 capacity and didn't have enough toilets. And so in this one, it was very clear when we moved in and we were able to build it from scratch. It was very clear. It was very important to us that we needed enough toilets to support 150 people. And actually, they've become quite a feature. Each toilet's got its own theatre quote as well. So it's got a little quote from a play, and they're gender neutral. Every toilet is its own cubicle, and we're talking about toilets a lot, aren't we? How bizarre that we're doing that. They do get a lot of attention.
I can leave it out if you want, but I really liked it.
No, absolutely not. No. I think the toilets are great. I think they're lovely.
No. So tell us about 53.2, and I'm really interested in what you were talking to me a little bit earlier about how, you're trying to make theatre accessible to underrepresented communities. So tell us about that, and how do you work with the local community?
Yeah, so access is a funny word, isn't it? I think access, when I first started to use it, for me was all about literally just having a flat floor, and therefore wheelchair users could get in. But over the last 5 years, the word access has actually, to me and to everyone on the team, it's become something far more sort of it's got a far wider reach as a word. Access is, of course, about making sure a venue is accessible so that people can get into the theatre. It's also about access behind backstage so that creatives can get on stage and in the dressing rooms, etc. Access is also about making sure audience members can come. So we try and keep our ticket prices no more than £12. And with every production, we also have £2 unwaged tickets on. That access is also about having British Sign Language interpreted shows so that it's open for deaf or hard of hearing people. BSL users can come and watch a show. It's ensuring that our casting policy is diverse and represents Greater Manchester. There's a real importance for, particularly now, I guess, if a younger generation are watching theatre, that they are able to see people on stage that reflect them so that they know in a few years they can go, I can do that. An amazing friend of mine, Tanya Vatal, told me the story about when she went to the theatre. She's a mixed race lady of the global majority and went to see theatre and they were all white people on stage. And I'll never forget that story because for her, it made her go, I really enjoyed that, but I'm not able to do that because that, I couldn't see anyone that looked like me on that stage. And then also just about the venue itself, as we've talked about, making sure that everything in there is right down to our beer is gluten-free so that anyone gluten intolerant can still come and have a pint. So the word access is really far-reaching in so many different ways. And it's something we're still learning. I think the word still has a lot more to give us. But it's certainly, as I said before, it runs through our sort of our venue and our practices as a sort of core value.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So to be a little bit specific, if you don't mind, what is it that you offer the people who want to act and see themselves on on stage. Just a little bit about the community services, besides, like you said, about making the venue more accessible, providing gluten-free beer, which is a really great touch for those who like beer.
Absolutely. So we offer many different things. I mean, certainly our charitable activities go from what some would consider sort of the most basic thing, which is providing a space, performance space. We have a great group called the Community Media Crew, who are adults and creatives with learning differences. And they come in and use the space, and they put shows on, which gives them a creative outlet, and it gives them an amazing feeling of being a part of that community, and a sense of being able to do something that otherwise they might not have felt was possible in the creative world. We also then, for other creatives, we've got a season coming up called November, which means you can get a 150-seater theatre for just £50. It's about sharing that new writing. And again, encouraging in our equality, diversity, inclusivity casting policy, which is a mouthful. It means that every company that comes in, as they join the 53.2 community, have to respect that sort of diversity in casting. We offer platforms for creative to use our rehearsal space. So there's a platform called 53 New, which is if you're a new company or a new individual creative or group of creatives, you can use our rehearsal space for a reduced rate. And one of the things we love is that 53 New also provides you the chance to use the space, but pay a reduced rate also after the event. A lot of the time, getting into a theatre space is difficult because you've got to pay first, but you might not have the money. Whereas if you pay after, you're able to do the marketing, sell the tickets, and pay after the event, which just that sort of strange bridge in the gap, which seems quite small, enables people the chance to get in a theatre and share their work. And because of these different platforms, the word community, you used it, but it is vitally important to us. And people who come to 53.2 do feel it is a community, right down to if you just come in on your own for a coffee, you're sort of never on your own. There's no such thing as strangers at 53.2, just friends not yet met.
I love that. Strange, definitely coming back for a coffee and a little cuddle with Albie.
Yeah,
Because
definitely do it. And
he was
yeah, and there's
he,
yeah.
he was really, really cute, and I think the star attraction. You've talked about a lot of the good work that you're doing, but I'm sure the journey hasn't been easy. What challenges have you faced?
Massive challenges. You know, I guess there are challenges every day, really, aren't there? One of the biggest challenges, and yet most wonderful things about 53.2 is that we don't have government funding. We don't have any funding from the city. We're funded through the goodness of people. So one of the challenges is finding that money, finding the money to, for instance, we have a Changing Places toilet going in, which will be the only arts venue in the city to have a Changing Places toilet. But the money from that has come from a grant that we've had to apply for, again, not from the government, not from Manchester City Council or anything like that. It's just come from wonderful people. We raised about £150,000 just from donors, giving us, even if it's just a tenner. Some people give a tenner a month, and that is so important. Some people give far more, which is incredibly important. But keeping the engine running while striving for all these wonderful things is certainly the most difficult challenge. And I think it's something that will resonate with all those people out there trying to do charitable activities. It's how you start almost from a standing start to create something that you can feel is sustaining itself and is working and able to give back into the community. That challenge is every day. Obviously, there's other challenges like we didn't have enough toilets, or we had a leak, or the lights broke, or all those kind of things happen. And ultimately, and it's quite sad, really, isn't it? But I think a lot of it does come down to finance, and it's tough for everybody out there at the moment. So it's difficult for us to go, but give us some money. But it's I think that's it. It's been a huge learning curve. I obviously I'm trained as an actor, so the idea of finance and business and all that kind of stuff, I've had to learn at 300 mile an hour, and my learning curve has been quite a steep trajectory, shall we say. But I'm surrounded by wonderful people. We've got a great board of trustees. We've got a great team here, and also our community. The people who come into 53.2 are so important to us. So all those challenges that come, there are always people there ready to help us overcome.
Thank you for sharing that. What is a changing places toilet? Sorry, I didn't understand the concept. And we've got listeners from 38 countries, so it's always good to explain cultural references.
No, that's cool. That's good. Changing places toilet. I think in 2021, maybe 2020, it became a legal requirement to have changing places toilets in new buildings. They are everyone would recognize a disabled toilet, but a changing places toilet are for those severely disabled patrons. So in that toilet, it has a hoist and it will have a bed and a shower. So it means that those people who are wheelchair users but severely disabled, who would have then difficulty going to the toilet, are able to come to the venue but stay longer because there is now a facility that they can use. It also will be a facility for the city. It's a great asset for the city. There will be only 4 in the whole of the city of Manchester.
Oh.
So it's a wonderful asset for the city, but it just means that people who up until recently might have been overlooked, certainly in arts venues, so therefore they couldn't come and watch a show, or indeed simple things. One of our great friends, Andy Duffy, who is a visitor to the theatre, he's a wheelchair user, and he's a great actor. And he said it would be such an asset for someone like Andy because changing costumes, if you are severely disabled, you might need a hoist to do that. So it's just those little things that we often don't think about, which are changing places toilet, which we're actually calling a freedom suite because it just sounds a bit nicer. It will open up our accessibility and it will open up the chance for both visitors and creatives alike to just stay, enjoy and explore theatre and the arts a little bit more.
Thank you for sharing that and explaining what a changing places toilet or freedom suite is. I appreciate it. What impact would you say you've made so far? It looks like you made a lot of impact, but anything that you can share?
I think the impact is there are some massive charities, global charities out there who are doing incredible things, and we see that all the time, and that's so important and hugely beneficial to those people receiving care and aid from those massive charities. For us, we're very aware of our size. We're small. We're an arts-based charity. And so our impact is less waves and more ripples, but those ripples are reaching different people. For instance, we do a Christmas advert every year with the brilliant Triple C, who are a charity who support disabled creatives. And we do a Christmas advert that goes on social media. Last year, we were supported by the brilliant ITV, who gave us a small grant to help us fund it. And that Christmas advert doesn't advertise anything apart from diversity on television. And through that, we've been able to give brilliant actors. Little Amelia, who did it 2 years ago, she's not little anymore, she's grown up, was in our Christmas advert. And it was incredible for her to have that experience. Andy Duffy, again, he wrote last year's Christmas advert and he may not have, been given that opportunity or been able to have that opportunity. So those little ripples that we're sending out are, just ripples, but making that impact. On a different side, again, the community media crew came in and were able to use the venue to put a play on. We had a full house in here laughing along with them, and it was fantastic to see them do that. We've had plays that we've helped create. We've dramaturged and given them space, and they've gone on to take that play across the country on tours. Our young associate artists, Switch Manchester, continue to grow with us and are learning different skills in terms of writing, lighting, stage management, direction. And then some people just come in and feel part of a community here. They're able to come in a venue, an arts venue that is accessible. And the access isn't an addition to that. It's just part of who we are. So I'd like to think, and maybe your listeners who know 53.2, maybe we've made impacts that we don't know, maybe just the small things. But whilst we can still make tiny ripples, we will do. And hopefully that impact will grow as we grow.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And definitely I can tell you from a one-time visit, I could feel it's a very comfortable space for the community, and anybody who was there was definitely, you could make out they were at home in the venue. So you've got the right vibe.
Right, good to hear.
So how can interested people reach out to you or learn more? This is when you can give out your website, social media.
Absolutely, we're quite lucky that our name 53.2, the number 5, the number 3, and the word 2, TWO, is unique enough to not be replicated anywhere. We haven't found it yet anyway. So all of our social media is at the number 5, the number 3, and the word 2, TWO, 532. That's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Our website is www.532.com. Again, the number 5, the number 3, and the word 2, TWO. And there, you know, on all of those platforms, there's always someone there ready to answer those questions. And if you'd like to come and use the venue, or you want to learn more, or indeed, if there's any people out there, we're always looking for funders. And if anyone listening thinks that they might be able to invest in a small charity and help us out to grow even more, then, you know, give us a shout. We're always there for that. But on the other side as well, if you're a creative and you've got a project and you're looking for a space to get it on, give us a shout. You know, there might be ways in which we can help. So 532.com is the website, and at 532 are all the social platforms.
I forgot to ask you, why is it called 532?
Yeah, it's called 532 because the coordinates of Manchester are 53 point something, 2 point something.
Oh.
So 532 is it's quintessentially Mancunian roots. It doesn't mean we can't open a venue anywhere else in the world. But yeah, 532 are the coordinates of Manchester.
That is so interesting. What advice would you have for people looking to start a similar movement in another part of the world or in another part of the UK?
I think you are only as good as the team around you. Find your tribe, stick with them, listen to them, grow with them. Because they're the ones who'll keep everything moving. Everyone has a bad day, you know, and there's some days when I wake up and go, oh no, I'm tired. But it's the team that go, no, come on, we've got stuff to do. We've got this to do. We've got to move forward. So that team, again, they're as much a part of the community as we hope everybody feels. Dedication, passion, hard work. You do have to, certainly with ventures like this, you have to give your life up for a little bit. It doesn't stay given up forever, but there are those times when you're like, I just, you know, working 16 hours a day for 6 weeks sounds horrific, and it is, but at the end of it, you get to go, wow, great, look what we've done. And then you get to go on holiday because everything's working fine. So work hard, stay passionate, stay positive, but most importantly, surround yourself with the people who can make your ideas come to fruition.
I love that about find your tribe and, you know, work hard, but have your little breaks planned as well. So
absolutely. Always focus on those bits.
Like it. So before I go to my signature question that I ask all my guests, this is your opportunity to talk about anything that you'd like to share with the community or the listener community listening in. It could be about something coming up in the next few months. It could be about any fundraising or anything else that you think you want to call out for.
Most importantly for us is we're in the process of growing our theatre from an 80-seater to 150-seater. And launching our first ever show, which will be in the Arches here. That opens on the 13th of September, which is a play called Things That Divide Us by a great writer called Joshua Chandos. And then after that, we've got a really great plays coming in. Switch, our associate artists, have got a show coming up. JB Shorts, which is a Manchester institution, is coming back. And then we've got some shows in November, which is our season Newvember, which is all about new writing. And then some great Christmas shows coming up as well. All the time, you mentioned it, so I'm going to jump in. All the time, we're looking for funding. Currently, we're looking for potentially a corporate sponsor who can support us and have the auditorium named after them. So it will be the insert company name auditorium at 532. That would just help us really ensure that everything we do is safe, up to scratch, accessible, and ensure that we can continue to give to the community. So if anyone is listening who feels they might be able to help out in some way, please do get in touch. But I guess that's all I've got to share there. Then that's us really.
Okay, very interesting. So now I go to the favorite part of of the podcast for myself, which is the signature questions I ask all my guests, and it starts with, what's the thing you love the most about Manchester?
What do I love most about Manchester? I was fortunate enough to live in London for 13 years. And when I came back, it really highlighted for me my favorite thing about Manchester, which is, again, it's that word community. There's nowhere I've ever been quite like it, for a sense of support, belonging, involvement, inclusion. You can walk from one side of the city to the other, and you'll have gone from Castlefield to the Northern Quarter, Ancoats. You'll see every walk of life. You'll hear every accent. You'll hear different languages. You'll see different kinds of people doing different kinds of stuff, and all of it's welcome in Manchester, and that's why I love it.
I like that. And, you are all about the community. So I can totally understand how much being in Manchester helps with that. So where's your favorite place in Manchester? And you can't pick 53 too.
No, yeah, oh, God, no. You know what? I've already mentioned it. My favorite place in Manchester, if I was in Greater Manchester, I'd be tempted to say somewhere like Prestwich, just because of the amazing Prestwich Village is great, and there's so much green space around there, around Phillips Park and all the parks down there. Me and Albie have lovely. Me and Albie spend many hours walking around the parks down there, and similarly in the city, Castlefield. We love walking down the canals, and I love the mixture down in Castlefield of those old railway arches that we've seen in Peaky Blinders, combined with the brand new glass and steel down there. I just think it's fascinating and steeped in history, and a massive part of what Manchester is, that industry and also growth. The worker bees are still buzzing, and it's beautiful down there. So there's two answers.
I love to, because I think that's fair enough. It's good to have two favorite places. What's the most important life lesson you've learned?
Most important life lesson is that you'll never achieve anything if you just sit thinking about it. Rather be the man in the ring, the man in the arena. Sorry, that Theodore Roosevelt quote. You might lie covered in cuts and bruises and dust, but better be that person than the person watching and wondering what they could have done. You fail, we all fail, but you'll never know if you were going to fail unless you give it a crack. So sitting watching never really achieves much. Doing stuff is the one.
I like that, and that makes sense. It's go out there and fulfill your dreams, or at least give it a really good try. So
absolutely, and I guess as well, if it doesn't work, that's okay. It's okay to go. I tried, and now I'm going to move on. And try something else. But as long as you've given it 100%, that's okay.
If someone wrote a book on your life, what would they title it?
What a great question. What a great question. Do you know, this is one of my go-tos. When people say funny sentences, I always go, that's the title of my autobiography. Probably something like LEDs and pies. That's feel like my life revolves around that. LED lights and pies. Something ridiculously theatre and very Mancunian at the same time. Pie and pints. Pie and pints. Pies and pints with Simon Naylor. Maybe it'd be that.
I like that. And what kind of pies are your favorite?
Oh, do you know what? Originally I was we've got a great company here called HM Pasties, who you probably should link up with as well. They're a company that only employ people who've been convicted of crimes and come out of prison, and they use them to make these amazing pies run by a great chap called Lee. And so before I started eating those pies, I was just a very basic kind of meat and potato guy. But their pies are amazing, and I've been converted to cheese and onion, aloo sag. They do an amazing aloo sag pie. So I guess my favorite pies are just HM Pasties. There's an advert they didn't know they were getting. Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah, I'd love, no, go for it. I'd love to talk to HM Pasties. It sounds like a really interesting
great enterprise,
yeah, that sounds great. A real pleasure, and I've learned a little bit more about accessible theater, and how we are. I love that there's accessible literature and accessible theater, and there's so many things which are being done to kind of bring underrepresented groups and give them a platform, whether it's to listen and experience theater, or whether it's to be on stage themselves. So it's really, really great. Thank you for sharing that with us.
My pleasure.
Simon, I really enjoyed learning about diversity and equality in the arts today. Dear listener, thank you so much for listening to the 11th episode of the Meet the Mancunian podcast, Season 3. I know many of you are listening in from different parts of the world or across the UK. I hope this episode and the podcast itself motivates you to follow your dreams and passions, inspired by the amazing Mancunian guests who feature here. Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Next week, the Meet the Mancunian talks to Mike Richard about mental health. Tune in on Tuesday, 11th October 2022 to hear the season finale. The Meet the Mancunian will then take a break until 22nd November 2022. Please do consider subscribing to the podcast and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. I would also be grateful if you could share this podcast with a friend or a family member. Thank you.